Hey guys, welcome back to Nerd Crave. So today we're going to do a follow-up video to my last video about the Steam Deck, and this is 10 retro games that you might not have known that you could play on your new Steam Deck if you've got one pre-ordered. Look forward to this list. So what is a Steam Deck? For those of you who don't know, the Steam Deck is a portable, handheld PC gaming console hybrid. So it presents like a Switch, looks like a Nintendo Switch, a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier, and way more powerful. The Steam Deck is purported to be able to play any existing game in the Steam library at medium to high settings, so it is quite powerful in terms of, getting into all the teraflops and this and that and the other thing. It is relatively a little bit more powerful than a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, but in a small handheld format and a 720p screen, which is actually going to be quite the performance juggernaut. This thing is set to make a lot of people really happy this Christmas time when it starts coming out. I know I've got mine pre-ordered, but anyway, let's get into this list of 10 retro games, console games for the most part, that you may not know are available on the Steam Deck. Let's get into it. So in my last video, I was talking about games that I was really looking forward to playing on the Steam Deck, and a couple that I did mention that also fall into the purview of this list here. I'll just call them honorable mentions that I wanted to bring up, and that is the Disney Afternoon Collection. These are Capcom games from the NES that have been available on the PS4 and Steam, and they're even on the Xbox One right now. But being able to play these games handheld is not something that we've had the opportunity to be able to do up until this point, because they are not on the Switch or any other handheld console at this time. So just, throwing that out there from the last video. The other thing is the Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters, which actually just launched today. That's Final Fantasy 1 to 6, which were originally on the NES, Super NES, and I think 6 was on the PS1. But Final Fantasy 1 to 6, Pixel Perfect Remasters, just launching today. You're going to be able to play those handheld. A lot of people were really pissed off that that was not announced to be coming to the Nintendo Switch, because it seems like such a perfect fit. So anyway, with the honorable mentions out of the way, let's get into this list of 10 games, or actually for the most part collections of games that are retro from the NES, Super NES, Sega Genesis, from that 8-bit, 16-bit era that you may not have known were available on Steam. Now, of course, if you're planning on hacking or modifying your Steam Deck when you get it and installing Windows, this may be a non-conversation for you, because you can install anything you want on this thing using emulators. There's all kinds of great emulators out there, and you can download and install anything that you want on this. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to be sticking with what is going to run natively on the Steam Deck when it ships, and that is Steam OS 3, which is a console-like experience for experiencing the Steam library on the Steam Deck. So the first game I want to mention is the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. Now, this is available on other platforms. It is also available on the Switch. I have it. I've played it. But if you don't have a Switch, and this is going to be your first major handheld, you really might want to look into the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. There are a bunch of the early Castlevania games in this collection. It's quite cheap. The games are ported beautifully. And it's a really great way to get into some of the games that created the entire genre of Metroidvania. Metroid, Castlevania, Metroidvania. There you go. So definitely check out the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. It often goes on sale on Steam for as little as $5. Absolutely check it out. Number 2 on this list, Chrono Trigger. One of the greatest video games of all time. Almost everyone who's played it would agree that Chrono Trigger, Super Nintendo, it was again on the DS, fantastic game. If you haven't played it yet, you can pick Chrono Trigger up for $20 or less on Steam, as opposed to paying over $100 for the DS version, sometimes even more than $100, or quite a bit more than that for the Super Nintendo version, and then of course you've got the problem of playing it on the Super Nintendo. So this is one of the most modern and affordable ways to play Chrono Trigger, a fantastic role-playing game from the 90s that should not be missed. Number 3 on this list is another collection, and that is the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, 1 and 2 actually. These can be picked up pretty cheap, and Mega Man X is a fantastic series, spin-off of the original Mega Man series, which was on the NES. Mega Man X debuted on the Super Nintendo and carried through onto the PS1, and these games are fantastic, high-action, beautiful graphics, and this can be picked up super cheap on your Steam Deck. I am really looking forward to diving into some of these retro games. And you know what the great thing is? Even if you pick up the cheapest model of Steam Deck with the slower memory, these games, not only do they not take up very much space for your small 64 gig internal memory, but they don't need an awful lot of bandwidth to run great. Because they're older games, they will run great on just about any kind of storage that you can get. So moving on here, another collection, again Konami, and that is the Contra Anniversary Collection, and this collects several of the early NES and Super NES Contra games. Classic run and gun action. You know, if you haven't played a Contra game before, or if it's been 30 years since you owned an NES, this is going to be one of the greatest ways to play this, assuming you don't have a Switch, which, you know, the Switch is a fantastic place to play a lot of these collections as well. But if you don't have a Switch, or if you're a PC gamer looking for some of these experiences, Contra is a fantastic run and gun, high action series that really just epitomizes the 90s and everything that was so special about gaming back in that day. What do we got next here? Okay, let's move into a little bit of a different style of game here, and this first made its debut on the TurboGrafx 16 as Ys Books 1 and 2. Ys is an interesting series that has really only recently gained a little bit of traction in North America. A lot of people may have heard of or played Ys 8. Well, Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles is a remake of Ys Books 1 and 2. A little bit better graphics, a little bit better gameplay, a lot of improvements, fantastic, beautiful looking game, beautiful story, great action RPG. So I highly recommend picking that up. Again, you're looking at about a $20 purchase if you don't catch it on sale, when it could be even cheaper. If you haven't played the Ys series, or if you've only played Ys 8 or Ys 9, which recently came out, I would highly recommend going back and checking these games out on your Steam Deck. Fantastic way to play in handheld. I absolutely love playing Ys 8 handheld on my Switch. But these collections are not available on the Switch at this time, so this is the only way that you can play these handheld. And moving right on, the next thing we have is Metal Slug from the Neo Geo. Metal Slug is this fantastic high-action, run-and-gun, side-scrolling adventure. You're playing, you know, a military sort of commando, just shooting up all kinds of stuff. You get to get into little tanks and armored vehicles and stuff, and a lot of fun. Really great games. If you haven't played Metal Slug, I have the Metal Slug Anthology on the Nintendo Wii. That's fantastic, but you can buy the Metal Slug games individually, 1, 2, and 3, on Steam, and they're all only about $5, $6, $7 a piece. Really great retro games. If you've never played a Metal Slug game, you owe it to yourself to check those out. They're fantastic, and they're absolutely perfectly suited to a handheld environment. Next thing up to talk about, a little bit different here, Capcom Arcade Stadium. Now this is more of like a package that you can download Capcom Arcade Stadium for free. This is also on the Nintendo Switch, and I believe other platforms as well. But you download Capcom Arcade Stadium for free, you get a few free games in that, and then you can download basically like DLC. You get different packs depending on different assortments of games, from the different years. So you have like 81, 82, 83, 84, that sort of thing. And these are arcade games, are the arcade versions, the best versions of a lot of these games in that era were in the arcades, because home consoles just didn't have the power to reproduce those kind of graphics at home. So these are some of the best versions of these games that you can pick up and play on your Steam Deck day one. This is available right now on Steam, and it's not very expensive. What do we have next here? Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition. A lot of us grew up playing Street Fighter, and the 30th Anniversary Edition collects a whole bunch of Street Fighter games. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter Alpha, Alpha 2, Alpha 3, so many games in this collection, and absolutely fantastic games. If you like fighting games, 2D fighting games, Street Fighter has just about always been the king of the 2D fighting genre. And you owe it to yourself to check out some of those older games. If you are, a younger gamer and you never had a Super Nintendo or some of those earlier systems, you owe it to yourself to go back and check out the history of the Street Fighter franchise, because Street Fighter 2, let me tell you, defined a generation of gamers. Moving on, Blaster Master Zero. I don't know a lot about Blaster Master. It started out on the NES. I didn't play it, but I'm hearing a lot of good things about Blaster Master Zero, and there's also a couple of sequels to it as well, and these are remakes of the original NES games, but in that same style, just a little bit cleaner graphics and stuff. But people are absolutely raving about how cool Blaster Master Zero, and then there's a couple other Blaster Master games as well, Zero 2 and Zero 3, I think, as well. And these games are really highly thought of. They're available on Steam. You can pick them up now or wait for a sale and pick these things up to build up your Steam library before you even get your Steam Deck. So the day you get your Steam Deck, you've got a huge library just waiting for you, ready to go. That is the great thing about PC gaming and Steam in general, is that there are constantly deals that you don't often find on consoles, because consoles seem to have, whether it's Nintendo or Sony, they have a vested interest in the price of the games because they get paid more based on how much the game sells for. They seem to control the prices more. Steam, you can pick up stuff on sale all the time for a couple bucks, $5, $10. Great experiences. So check out Blaster Master Zero, and that pretty much wraps up this list. 10 games that I think absolutely deserve your attention. If you love retro games, or if you've never played a retro game and you want to check out some retro stuff on your Steam Deck, check out this list, and see you in the next video, guys. Stay classy.